boundaries and rules. Maybe give you a break, a respite care. Come and get them. Give grandparents a break. There are a few places in the community that do respite care. Um, but it's very important for them to develop their village of people who can help them. Even parents need that, not just grandparents. The average parent today working one or two jobs just to make ends meet. So when you're working two jobs and you're not at home, who's taking care of your children? Who is parenting? Who is nurturing? Who is loving? And unfortunately, it is just the reality of what society is today. I think that's one of the most detrimental things to our community. And years ago, they would say, oh, in the black community, you have one parent homes. Oh, it's not just black communities anymore. It's all communities now. It's spread its love now. So one parent households is so common. And if mom is working two jobs or working overnight and she comes home and goes to sleep, sometimes children go to school at 10 o'clock in the morning because she wakes up and discovers, oops, I laid down. I was going to get me a nap. And now my kids are late for school. So it used to be when they came into the school, they would get this speech. But now what I say is, I'm just glad you're here. They're just, hey, and when you're worried about absences, they're still present for the day. They just miss first period, like, right? And let's work on a system of now let's train children about an alarm clock. You go wake mama up. You help get on that bus because the bus runs to every house in Madison County. There is no excuse. And grandparents had a car ride online trying to take your grandkids to school because they don't want to ride a bus, because they don't want to ride a bus. That didn't exist in my household. I rode the bus till I graduated from high school. And I wish we would have missed that bus and my mama had to leave her job and come take us to school. One time, we were scared. We took care of each other. And that was the thing too, even in the household. In our household, we had chores. And if you didn't have your chore done, hey, mama gonna be here in an hour. Let's go. Everybody's gonna help. Because if she got one, she getting all of us. And we didn't want that. So those old principles, I like them. I love them because it worked for us. That self-correction, that correction in that household. Mama didn't have to do anything after we obeyed. Mama didn't cook during the week. We cooked, we cleaned, we did laundry, we got ourselves on the bus every day. My mom just had to go to work and come home. And on weekends, she cooked the family meal on Sundays and we did all the things. But during the week, she had 10 children. My mom had 10 farm hands is what she had. And then on top of that, grandma up the street, we took care of. Like we canned, we did cha-cha pickle, we did hog killing day, we did all those things with grandma. Like how many children today know how to even cut grass, even know how to open a garage door? They don't do anything anymore. Grandparents do, they indulge. And sometimes I feel bad as a grandparent because I'll say, my granddaughter will say, hey, I only have $10 for book fair. Can you give me 10 more? And I'll say, no, you have plenty of books. You don't read the ones you got. No, I'm not giving it to you. But what does she do? Call her mama. I want more money. And she'll say, well, is Nana bringing you to the bus stop? Well, come to the door. I'll give you 20 more. So I'm like, okay. So I told her mom, she don't need any more. I said, but make her read the books she got. I said, get her off that iPad and make her read books. Because at my house, and the funny thing about her is that I'm harder on her than anybody. Guess where I can't get her out of? My house. I cannot make that child go home. I make her read books. I make her do what she's supposed to do. I spank her butt when she does wrong. And she still wants to come to my house. Clue, parents, it has not pushed her away yet. She clings to me. So kids really want guidance and discipline more. They not only do they need it, they want that. The kids, my real tough kids that no one can do anything with, I'm so hard on those kids. However, I love those kids and they love me. They will do anything I ask them to do. Hey, I have those that I call Thanksgiving break, Christmas break. Hey, you know you're behind in that class. I see you haven't logged in. Log in right now while I'm on this phone. No, I'm going to stay on the phone with you. Work. If that's what it takes, I'm doing it. And I have done it and it has worked. Whatever they need, oh, you're going to do the work. I'm not giving you an option not to. But there's not a lot of people who are willing to give up their extra time. Like when they clock out at 4 o'clock, they ain't calling a parent. I'm often on the phone with a parent at night, whether it's my recent little girl about that tall who told her mama she wasn't going to school. Her little sister hops down the hallway happy as a clam every single day. Her older sister is in a virtual program. So the middle kid said, I'm not going to school. Refused. Went and hid in the closet when the social workers got there. So I called mom on Thursday and asked her to give me a call. Phone wouldn't ring. Called and texted her and said, hey, when you have an opportunity, I want to talk to you about her attendance and what we can do. She showed up yesterday and withdrew her, and she's going to homeschool her. So that is the easiest way out. But if I had the luxury of laying in my house while my mama went to work or stayed home, which wouldn't have happened, but I had an iPad, I had a computer, and I had a gaming system, and that's all I had to do all day. Do you think I was going to go get on a bus and go to school? Mm-mm. If my mom let me, but that was not going to happen, so I didn't ask. Conversations that I had with my mom, can I go skating? Yes, not can I stay home from school? If we weren't sick, we were in school. If we were sick, we were in school. If you were dying, you stay home, right? But the level of what sick is, we didn't run to the doctor. I have children with 50 doctor notes. Who goes to the doctor 50 times? Maybe in a lifetime, but in a school year? And we have doctor offices, the parents go in and I'm going to get in trouble and I'm going to have to go to court. Will you excuse last week for me? We just had Hazel Green Pediatrics just called us and said, hey, we're concerned about a family. Wow. We've been trying to do this for years with y'all. It says she keeps coming in, kids not sick, getting doctor notes. Well, I said, no worry. I've already filed a petition. She's going to court. Don't worry. She's already going before a judge because I know they're not sick. There's no reason for them not to be in school. Alabama law says children must attend school between the ages of 6 and 17. Mandatory attendance age used to be 7. They moved it to 6 with a caveat that you could opt out until 7, but you had to do it in writing. But now the legal age to go to school is 6. Most kids go to school by 4, pre-K and kindergarten. So you've missed 2 years of education if you don't go to U6. However, there are parents that do it. So Alabama law now has put in a homeschool used to be church school, where it was under the umbrella of a church or ministry of a church, and you go and you sign out and say, hey, I'm enrolling in church school. Now you can homeschool. You just go to the school and say, I'm going to homeschool myself, my child, my right as a parent to educate as I please with no supervision, with no follow-up. We probably have on average 2,000, 2,500 kids a year that homeschool. Now, they do want to bring them back because they want a high school diploma, and they try to show up in 11th grade and say, hey, I want to go to school, but your credits don't have to be certified until you're in 9th grade. Once you hit 9th grade, you have to earn credits. They don't just pass you along anymore. So any student that shows up and wants to go to school have to pass semester type exams for the grade level they want us to give them credits for. If you haven't ever gone to school, you will never get a math credit ever in your life because now there's 4 years of math in high school. 4 years. Algebra 2 trig is your highest math, but they start with geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, trig, statistics. They have everything in high school now. But they also have all kind of programs for kids now. They have different career tracks for kids now. But if you sit at home and homeschool your entire life, you're not going to come into high school and graduate. So that is one of the challenges too. Even coming in when your child is retained, you homeschool them a year and come back and say, hey, now I want them on the right grade level. Guess what we do? We give you a STAR reading and math test. and you have to be on grade level. If you took them home and did right by them, you probably can promote them. But if you did not, they're going to be retained. They're going to go back to the grade level they left us in. We have every 3 months, we do a community partners meeting. And community partners from our community come in, and we've got Toyota Mazda, we got K-Tech, which is a awesome program. I think we're going to partner with Sparkman High School. We're trying to start partnering. It's a Megatronics where they train you to go out and get these jobs at Toyota and Mazda and give you the skills you need. Minimal fee for students who are good with their hands. That program is awesome. It started with Kids to Love through foster care, and they put all their foster children through that program. But that program is open to the community, and we're trying to partner. And we're going to start at Sparkman 9 and see how that works. But K-Tech is great if you've got young adults who are leaving high school and trying to enter the job market. K-Tech is awesome. So if they're interested in megatronics and electronics. But we have other community partners. We have the universities come in. We learn about the different scholarships available to students. And so we're always inviting the industry. If nothing else, give us a check. We'll take that too. And they do. Sometimes they do. And they're funding some of the programs, the at-risk programs that we're trying to start. We now have an at-risk. It's a elementary K-3 alternative setting. It's not alternative school, but alternative setting, but it's a behavioral. And they've got, they're only taking like 8 or 9 at a time. But these are our most needy behavioral kids that cannot survive in a regular classroom. But funding, with the county school system, we do not have the money that Huntsville City has. So these companies partnering with us and funding some of these things has been awesome for us. So we're always looking for community partners. Make sure I went over everything. Another thing that, hate to touch on this one, but drug and alcohol. One of the biggest categories of alternative placement for us is drugs and alcohol. After COVID, it really spiked. And I know we faced a lot of addictions with parents and at home, so naturally kids, but we definitely are trying to develop more programs to combat alcohol and drug use in schools. We had a kid walk in with a Four Loko, and I saw the can, okay? You can buy them at the gas station. 13.9% alcohol content. High school student, so she had taken it, they had to go back and look at the film. She had the can, she poured it in her circle bottle, which is clear. It was fruit punch, but that bottle, you put water in it, and then the flavor is at the top, so why would you pour anything in it? But she did. She tried to hand it to a kid that said, that kid walked in. So they smelled it. So she said it wasn't hers. So they went back and watched the film. They watched her open her bottle, pour it in her bottle. So 13.9, I'm like, but she bought it, or someone bought it at probably one of the local gas stations. So when she went through metal, she knew she couldn't take the can through. She was that smart. She knew that was going to go off. So she had to pour it in that water bottle. So we're faced with that. The vaping, the THC vapes, and believe it or not, that is down to middle school, major middle school. And we've had a couple intermediate school students. Just had a hearing on a little boy. He was in elementary school, and his backpack smelled so strongly of marijuana that they checked it, and he had residue in the bottom. Mom says that wasn't his backpack, and it probably wasn't. It's probably one of theirs. Because, I mean, I always think they use them as mules because why would marijuana be in the bottom of his backpack? Like you probably put it in there, riding down the road, keep police from stopping you, but whatever. Like it was like a very strong and enough residue that I mean, it wasn't just a little in the bottom of his backpack. And she's like, well, that's not his backpack. Well, clearly he came through the security in it. It was what he was walking down the hall with on his back. It was his. But more than likely, he grabbed it from home. But guess what? It was on his person. And he is going to go to alternative school for that. And it's probably mama's or someone in the household's backpack. So, Partnership for Drug-Free Youth, we're working with them on developing some programs to come into the schools and talk with youth about drug abuse, the dangers of vaping, alcohol, and those type things. Also, suicide awareness, working on suicide awareness. September was Suicide Awareness Month. And that's always a hard one because we do have students who commit suicide. We deal with that quite often, and well, more often than we want to. Let me say that. Even one is too much for us. But we do, when we deal with it makes it real difficult because studies will tell you not to go and don't do assemblies and don't do things. So what we typically do with our grief support is we are in the schools. We let teachers know that we're there. And if a student is visibly shaken, need help or assistance, they just send that student out. We don't do a all call anymore and go in and say, hey, we're here today and we're going to meet in the gym and we're going to do assembly because of copycat suicides and kids, thinking, hey, look, they got the easy way out. Look, they can do it, I can do it. And some studies have shown that happens sometimes in clusters. So we recently had a teacher at one of our schools had a heart attack at school. She was only 47 and she had a heart attack at school and died. So we went the following days out to school to do grief support for staff and the students in her classroom. She was also the yearbook coordinator and she was very, very involved with students. And then we had to do it for the high school also because, she was the yearbook person. So she had them and she had them the year before. School had just started. We had been in school about 2 weeks. So her students didn't know her as well as the previous students. But that was a shocker that, you go to school, you get up and go to work. She had a fifth grader. Drop her off at school, you go to school and have a heart attack at 47 and pass away. So a lot goes on in the course of a day in a school. I want to go back to truancy for a minute. So as one of my major roles is I have truancy court every 2 weeks. And in truancy court, Alabama law says 7 unexcused absences is violation of the law. So we have a truancy dashboard now. So parents get lots of notifications when number one, you get a phone call every single day that your child's not at school. Every single day, whether you know they're there or not, you're going to get a phone call. So at 1, 3, 7, and 10, they get notices that are pre-built and they go out automatically to say, hey, your child's absent from school without an excuse. Please send an excuse. It tells them what the Alabama law says and it tells them what the consequences are. At 10, I meet with those parents in a conference type setting, and we talk about ways to improve attendance, responsibilities, community resources, but we also talk about the consequence. So truancy court, we developed truancy court probably about 15 years ago now. In Madison County, we have specialty courts. So you have drug court, you have mental health court, you have truancy court. So that court is only going to deal with those things. So on my dockets, every 2 weeks, this past Thursday, I had 18 families on my docket. And they range from virtual school, where you get to sit at home and do your work and have 53 absences. I don't get it. That means you didn't log in 53 days and do work. But when we started virtual school, that's one of my highest absenteeism and failure schools. So they're ordered to go back to school. The judge will say, no, your child has to go back to their school. They can't stay in virtual anymore. Um, but lots of good things I think happen in truancy court because it's a working court. It's a helping court. We have a representative from Nova, Wellstone Nova there. We have the school officials from all three school systems. We have juvenile court. We have guardian ad litem attorneys there. So if a family comes in and they need lots of services wrapped around them, the judge automatically gives the child a guardian ad litem. That child gets their own attorney. So that attorney is going to go and visit the home, the school, and figure out what's going on with that child. And then we reconvene. So in those situations, sometimes it becomes a dependency case and the child's removed from the parent's home and their safety plan with a relative, often the grandparent, auntie, church member, whoever. A safety plan can be anybody. The parent can say, hey, I want my cousin to have my child. So whoever they deem the person they trust. So when we have truancy court, but also when I have a parent that I have been working with and we've done everything, something else is going on. It's either mental health or it's drug abuse. We do drug tests sometimes in truancy court. And when parents fail, DHR comes in and they safety plan. But I had one that came in Thursday. Thank gosh she wasn't mine. She was a Huntsville City parent, but she was so under the influence. So the judge said, what are you on? Have you used something? She said, oh, I went to the methadone clinic. Well, if you know about the methadone clinic, the methadone is a legal high. So I have many of my parents, methadone was created to step you off of the drug. No, they stay on it for years because if they get caught with it, they have a prescription. Nothing's going to happen, but they misuse it major. She was so high. So we were dealing with her. So when we're in truancy court, I had one child came from Florida. She had all kind of charges in Florida, alternative school placement, which means she had to come to ours. She hadn't worked her way out of alternative school yet, and she probably never would. She won't go to school. But she also won't stay in her mama's house. So I don't know how she makes money, but she does. And she Ubers around the city, and she's right now over in Northwood with a friend and doing all kind of things. But finally, the guardian ad litem was like, I don't know what to do with this child. And bottom line is the mom can't do anything with her. She's not going to stay at home. She's been a chronic runaway since she's gotten to our community. She's not going to stay in her mom's home. And unfortunately, there are times when you have to look at the best case scenario. She's going to try one of the church schools that I work with most often that I know kind of holds people accountable. She comes to our hearings also. She says she wants it. So we put her in a church school instead of letting mama just sign, I'm going to homeschool her, so that she still has to check in with us in court to check her progress. But homeschool, church school, it has a place. I mean, there are times when students have medical issues or social issues and things are going on and school is not. Public school is not for everybody. It really isn't. And it's so large. And if kids need a smaller environment, you have to find it. And parents have to really do the best they can. So I'm not totally opposed to homeschool. I'm opposed to it when you're choosing it because you don't want to do what's right. I'm opposed when you're doing it because you don't want to get up and send your kids to school every day. I'm opposed to it because you're doing it because you don't want to go to truancy court. But if you're doing it because it's the best educational option for your child, that is your right as a parent. Also with parents, our virtual academy, grades 7-12, is an awesome program. I've seen many students graduate from virtual that were not successful, whether it's social, emotional, or let's talk about COVID. These kids got jobs. They don't want to give those jobs up. So a lot of our kids went virtual so they could keep their jobs. And so they were working full time and doing their work, trying to find that little work balance. We had them out at Toyota Mazda working full time, but doing their work online. So it has its place. Um, we have a new program that we've started. It's an at-risk program called LEAP. Students have to be at least in the 10th grade at risk for not graduating from high school, and it is 100% virtual. What I like about LEAP and not virtual, you do have some seat hours. LEAP, you have no seat hours. So with our young mothers who have become parents very young, who don't have childcare, they're still able to continue their education. So they just have to be referred by their high school counselor for that program. And it is a standard high school diploma, 100% virtual. If they do need support, they are able to come into the virtual academy for academic support, or they can do Google Meets with their teachers for academic support. So I love LEAP. I've had many students before we had a LEAP. I was leaping with these students because I've been piecing together their education for a long time, like any means necessary. Um, and that's what I tell people all the time. Failure is not the option. Any means necessary. We got to get it done. Um, Statistics will tell you students who drop out of high school are more likely to be food insufficient, unstable housing, poor health, incarceration. So it's just a cycle that continues. And about 15 years ago, we did an at-risk rally at three of our high schools: Hazel Green High School, Sparkman High School, and New Hope High School. New Hope Middle and High School, because they're so small. But there was a bus that rolled onto campus, and it was half school bus, half incarceration, Department of Corrections. So when you go onto the bus, you watch a film about the correction center. And on that film, there was a little girl who was a really, really good student in Alabama. She was an athlete. She was a really good kid. Parents were trying to raise her right. Her friends, not so much. So one day she decided to go out with them. They were hanging out. She skipped school. They robbed a store and someone died. And they charged her with murder too. So she lost everything. So the sale on that bus was her sale. When they redone the sale, they took her sink and toilet and bunk and they put it, so they made like a little makeshift sale on the students could actually see what a real jail cell looked like. But it talked about those statistics, and the corrections inmates, they talked about what led to their demise, which included not going to school, not listening to their parents, you know, the robbing, hanging with older kids, and they would let them go in windows and bring out things, and the parents allowing them to bring things in their house that they know they didn't have a job to buy a $500 gaming system. So why do you have one in your room? But those type things, they talked about those things and wishing someone had have just stopped them. Someone had have just told them. I was watching, it was a film many years ago, but it was a Department of Corrections, and I was at a conference, and I was watching this film, and this inmate popped up, and I saw his name. It said Michael D. And I went, oh my God. So that boy, which I knew him as a boy, because I knew him when we were kids, teenagers, he was city kid, and he was the nicest looking young man. Could sing, he was so talented, and he liked me. And when we go to the skating ring, we'd skate, but I was always scared of him. He had an edge. Like he just had this edge. And I'm like, but it was him. It was him on that film that is in prison for life. Him. I was, thank God for my intuition when I was 16 years of age, because thank God that I never was involved with him, because he did some horrible things in his life. But those are the things I think that it is very important to parent kids. That is the biggest takeaway. And when you have struggles parenting them, there are so many resources in our community that can assist with that. I know the stigma, the mental health stigma, all that stuff. I understand it. I'm in this community, I'm in this life too, and I understand it. But sacrificing our kids is just not an option. We've got to get help for some of these kids. If of course, watch the news every day, we're losing them daily. I was talking to Huntsville City School Student Services. They've lost 3 students this school year already, one to a car accident and 2 to gunfire. So that is like, you don't want to hear that, but that is our reality. And if they're not in school and they're not doing positive things, also positive things, sports. I'm a major sports advocate here. I coach AAU basketball. We use your church sometimes, right? I coach AAU basketball. Very involved with youth. Now I'm coaching my granddaughter, which I said I was going to stop coaching, but I can't get away from coaching. But I think it's very important for kids to be involved in something, and not just sports, the arts, um, you know, clubs at school. Most of the clubs at school are free. To be involved in, whether it's band, theater, be involved in something positive. Girl Scouts. I remember doing brownies when I was a little girl. Like, but be involved in something, because if they're involved in nothing, they don't feel that community with anybody and anything. Um, if they are wanting to play sports and they're saying, well, we can't afford it, there are fee waivers at every school. There's If a student wants to participate in anything, there are fee waivers. There's no such thing as they can't. It is public school. They're not going to turn them away because they don't have the $1,200 that they tell you got to have to play football. They have fee waivers. They also do fundraisers. Now, parents, you got to do these fundraisers. You can't just want something for nothing, because nothing is free, for real, for real. But if they fundraise and they raise 600, they're not going to say, oh, you don't have 12. They have fee waivers. So encourage these youth to get involved in something positive. Um, and just like I try to do every day, stay encouraged, stay encouraged. But it is my honor to serve. If I can ever be of assistance, I'm with Madison County Schools, Pam Anderson Carter. You go to their website, I'm there. If I can ever assist you, if you have a family, I had a private school. One of our co-workers left to open the Rock Private Academy, Kingdom Academy. So she called me with a situation she had in her school. And she said, hey, I need some social services. I need your help with something. And we talked through it, and I gave her resources and some protocols to go through with a student. But if I can ever be of assistance, I have no issue with assisting anyone, whether Madison City, Madison County, Huntsville City, they're all our kids. If I can ever be of assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out. And anybody have any questions?
I do. You mentioned a lot of stuff. uh, all good, whatever. But how do we implement in our churches to make a difference?
I think just like a church, a school, a home, you have to have people willing to boots on the ground. I think you need boots on the ground first of all, and more than likely you have teachers in your congregation, you have school employees. You just have to start with your committees, people who want to be on the committees, that want to be involved with young people. So I think you just start developing those committees and those ministries within your church, and have that person to head the ministry that you have. But most of your churches, you're going to have those school officials, school teachers, daycare workers, because early childhood is one of the most important things now too. So I think that starting small with identifying your people, boots on the ground, that want to be involved with and you got to have someone that knows how to talk to people, right? So that is the big thing, because by the grace of God, and every time I deal with a difficult situation, by the grace of God, it's not me or my children. It still could be any day, right? So there's no judgment there. We're blessed. There's no judgment. And people go through hard times. We all go through hard times. So you really have to have the right people doing the right things. And knowing how to speak with people and having empathy and seeing things from another person's viewpoint and not your own. Because that's one of the things we face too. Because I was at the middle school the other day, and the kids were very, very loud. And I'm sitting in this office, and Marino Middle School looks different than it did 10 years ago. The ethnicity has made it beautiful. Like, we have some black kids there now. Like, when my daughter went there, and when I went to Hazel Green High School, 5% black. We didn't have any black kids. But now, you're going to see them. So, we are a different people. We are a little louder. It doesn't mean it's bad, but we have to teach our children to code switch a little bit, But those kids, when people look like them, they react differently. So I told the social worker, I'm sitting there, and they were supposed to be getting to class. And I said, hold on a second. So I got up. I just went and stood there at the doorway in the hallway, and they instantly were quiet. They don't know me, but I am someone that looks like them, right? And instantly they were like looking back, did she hear me? Like, they instantly got in line. So I told Courtney, I said, a suggestion you might make to your principal is that he gets his key people who are highly respected in the school and put them in those key spots. Because number one, the expectation is not there for them. They do it when they're expected to do it. I mean, these big old eighth graders getting ready to go upstairs, and they literally got quiet. She said, this is all day long. I said, but this is the fault of the administration. So you have to have the right people doing the thing they need to do. So, I'll do some conferences for y'all. Like, but literally, that is the thing all day long that I talk to people. Because if somebody's coming to you with help and you don't greet them correctly and you don't make them feel welcome, and then they're like, they come in here and lay their heart out to you, and they tell you everything. How am I going to help if I don't know everything? If I don't know what you've tried and what worked, I got to know a little bit about your kid and the history. There ain't no shame. Everybody makes mistakes and decisions they shouldn't make. I've made some that, but they made me who I am. I embrace them, because I think that's just like when you remove children from adversity, they don't become strong. You have to go through adversity to become strong. So with these people, it's okay to hold people accountable, but there's a way to respectfully talk to someone about a problem. I can have a parent cussing me out. I'm not going to be different than who I am, like right now. And I will listen to them. I'll let them vent. I'll say, ma'am, can I say something? Can you give me a second to respond? I acknowledge that you're having a hard time. I do understand that, but this is where we are, and what are we going to do about it? I'm here to help, but I can't help if you don't let me help. And do you need to call me back? Do you need a minute? Do you need to calm down and call me back? Do you want me to call you back? How are we going to do this? 9 times out of 10, I'm so sorry. I'm just upset. I get that. Because my kid, I remember having my son, especially in school, and I remember having to go check on him a couple of times. I remember having to do that. And, hearing something negative about your child is not pleasant. So can you not understand a parent being upset if a teacher, like I had a teacher tell me one time, your son's going to be in trouble all the time when he gets to middle school. It was a counselor, really. And he's wearing these designer shoes in here, and he ain't taking care of nothing. And I looked at him and I'm like, excuse me, but you didn't buy any of that stuff. I did. I said, you didn't buy any of that stuff. I said, he's going to act right. I'm going to assure it, but you're going to treat him right. You don't know anything about those little boys. You don't know that we just went through a divorce last year, right? You don't know any of this stuff about this kid, and you're passing judgment on him. No, figure out what's going on before you judge. And so judgment is not for us. And I tell people it's not for us. So I think that the church, the community, that's where it's at. And that's where we've got to take back our families and our kids. It's going to be there. because they need people who look like us. They're going to hear us differently than they're going to hear other officials. And the one thing that when I go into a school, like let's talk about the western side of our county, like Sparkman High School, you have a more diverse families over there. So there is no way you're going to run a school and not have diverse staff. They would probably take over your school, right? And so with, we are successful with those kids when we talk to them because we look like them. We're home, family, and they don't even know you. So in your church family, you can wrap the love. Because my mama said some things to me before, hurt my feelings I didn't like. But guess what? She'd been there before, and she told me. And if I could rewind and listen to her a couple of them things, I wish I could, but I couldn't. But I remember some things she said. So when you can get a message, but the one thing as an adult, what has sustained me throughout my career and throughout my life is all those messages that I hear from my mom, my grandmother, the elders in my life, the things they said to me that didn't make sense until I was grown. But I'm glad they paved it for me. So those families that we deal with may not have had that same background. They didn't have that same privilege of being built. So, and it's a little harder to build a 25-year-old mother of three who is always in stress because of just trying to make it. It might be harder for her to hear a message, but you got to keep giving the message. And it can't be, she laying down there having them babies. She quit having them babies. She wouldn't be having all them problems. So that's what you hear people will say. And I have a social worker once, she said to me, she should have been thinking about that. And I was like, excuse me? Like, excuse me? I said, no, ma'am. We're going to take them where they are, not where they've been. We're taking them where they are and help them get where they're trying to go or where we want them to be. But we're not passing judgment on how they got here. They're here. And when they before us, we're going to deal with them on where they need to be. So no judgment. And so that's the big thing in working with people. Not your judgment, your opinion, your attitudes. It's like, we're here to help.
All right. One other question, and I'll leave you alone.
Oh, you're fine.
You suggesting to us that if we have a need, we have a problem or have a case, uh, that you are a contact person?
Well, and I mean, I can be. I don't mind. If you have, I am here to serve. If there is a family in my community that needs help, I have no problem, absolutely no problem helping. I don't. And directing them, and helping you with, one great thing to build in your church would be a resource manual, just a pure resource manual. They'll tell you call 211, right? If you call 211, 211 is supposed to tell you, hey, you can call this number. Some people have said that 211 is helpful, and some people is like, well, they just don't do it for you. Some people need a little bit more than call this number, right? Some people can call 211 and then give them 5 places to call and they're good, right? Some people might need a little bit of hand holding, right? So a resource manual, there's all kind of like hotlines, like suicide prevention hotline and 988, and then you've got your 211, and you got all your different numbers you can call. But for a person in crisis like right now, right, I am not gonna be suicidal and call 988. I need someone that know me that I can talk to, right?
Yeah.
So as you develop these people in most churches, and some churches are smaller and they may not have, but in your larger churches, definitely you've got these professionals in your church. So maybe an identification of who you have in your congregation. Like, what do you do for a living? You've got social workers and nurses and teachers and doctors and lawyers, and you get everything in your communities, and develop your committees accordingly. And then source out what you don't have. But it's very important that if someone comes to you with a need, that if you can help them, you know where to send them. It's Very important.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Um, First of all, thank you for being here. Your information is just absolutely wonderful. Couple of things. Earlier, you spoke about how when students have come to you all that maybe don't have clothing and things like that, and that there are places there are persons or entities that you partner with to get those items there. Like if we wanted to be, if one of our auxiliaries wanted to be that entity that would provide things for those closets, if you will, how would we get in touch with, who would we contact about that?
So the Karen link is Katie O'Neill,
Okay,
and I can get you her information. I've got it in my phone. Um, she started the Karen link, and that has actually exploded, and may have even seen her on the news. But definitely donations and those type things that she probably loved that. But they have opened up in the Huntsville city also, and open to all, free of charge. So yes, I'm sure that donations would be great. Yes. Yes.
I just needed a clarification. You mentioned Heels Clinic.
Yes.
Heals.
Yes. Yes. And that is, they have them in Huntsville too, but they provide medical, dental, and vision. Some do dental and vision, some do all three. The one on Sparkman Middle School, Sparkman Intermediate School, when it is open, it's going to do all three. Um, the one in New Hope is called New Hope Clinic. They do some mental health out of theirs. So yes,
I think they're nonprofits, right?
they are. They are. I know they do the Dancing with the Stars type thing every year as a fundraiser kind of thing, but wonderful, wonderful organization. They have social workers and different people on their staff to help families too.
I'm sorry if I missed this, we talked about it earlier, I came in, but are you in favor of mentors?
Yes,
Is there people in a congregation that like to mentor a young man,
yes,
single parent home or something? Do you see that makes a difference?
I do. And I've kind of spent my life doing it. You know, I used to coach volleyball at Hazel Green High School many, many years ago. Um, and a kid that, and the reason she comes to my mind is she's still my kid. She was 14 when she came into my life. She adopted me. I always say this. She's 44 today. So when I started coaching her, she was the only kid that didn't have a parent at the ball game. No one ever came. She was the only kid left to be picked up after practice was over. She was from California. She was very different, very headstrong. And back then, that wasn't a good thing in schools, very misunderstood. But I loved her. So before long, I started taking her home after practice because if I drove one of the county commission vans to our ball games, she lived right around the corner. I was just like, well, you just, come on with me to take the van back and then I get my car, I'll bring you home. So that became the thing. Well, it continued out the volleyball season into the next year. And to this day, she was one of the highest risk students that I ever dealt with. But she has her master's in nursing and she's working on her nurse practitioner today. And she still struggles with mental health. She still struggles with a lot of things. She doesn't make very many big decisions without calling me and talking to me about them first. She's a homeowner. She's done a lot of, she was not a kid that anyone ever expected to really make it, but she did. But she calls me Ma, and she always has. And the first time she took me home to meet her mother, she called her mom and me Ma. Her mother was not jealous of our relationship. That was the starting point because her mama knew she needed someone. So mom never interfered with the advice. The mom would actually call me and say, hey, you need to talk to me and there's something going on with her. Like that's the relationship we had. But now her mom has been gone now. I think she was about 38 when her mom passed, 36, 38. And so she doesn't have a mother and a father on this earth. She has me. And so she's I call her my daughter and she's of the other persuasion. People look at me like, what? Because, but she's my child. So I have mentored her through everything. I was in the delivery room with her last child. You know, I have been involved in every aspect of her life, and she probably wouldn't be where she is if she had not had that. So I think mentorship is necessary. Absolutely. So, yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. What's the oldest person you've known to be accepted in law school? That we-
I don't know. Why?
I know someone, they didn't get accepted on the first list,
Mhm.
but they were second in place.
Mm.
And they had an attitude ever since then. But
Oh, oh, yeah.
God bless you all. Thank you all very much. Are there any more questions? We got one more.
Not a question, but just a comment. I sat here throughout your whole entire presentation, and I've listened, and I've learned a lot just about where you come from. And I can say that God had his hand on you from a very young age because he allowed you
Yes.
to make decisions, to follow through with things that your parents and your grandparents taught you, and now you're bringing it forth. So you're passing it along to everyone else that needs this type of help. And God's been good to you, and I hope that you will continue your work in helping the community. Because from just my standpoint and listening to what you've done and where you've been and the things that you've seen and the people that you've helped, we need more people like you.
Well,
And
thank you.
that's coming from the heart.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I do. I would have to say, in my 38 years of employment, I mean, I don't feel like I go to work every day. I love my job. And I now jokingly tell people I have an expiration date, which I don't mean that other kind of expiration date. I mean another kind. But I wrestle with leaving my job because I have developed my practices over my years, and they're child centered, and it's for the good of kids. I don't care about getting the credit for it. I don't care about any of that, but I do want these children and these families to be okay. And I worry that the next person that comes in won't do it, and so that has made me stay. Um, and as I bring new social workers in and employees in, I'm looking for that next person, and I keep looking for that next person, and I'm passing along the knowledge because I want kids and families to be okay. That's just my life's work. But I do intend, until I die, I will be serving. It's in me. I don't know that I would survive without doing it. But thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sister Carter. We appreciate you very much, and God bless you. You're wonderful. Thank you. Great job. Great job. We're going to ask you all to take about a 10-minute break, and then we got another powerhouse coming. My wife is going to come, and she's going to introduce Miss Rhines, Sister Rhines, and she's going to take us from there. Are we wearing you too much, Sister Rhines? Are we okay? She's getting ready to go, and she's got a lot of good information. So let's come back at about, what time is it now? Let's look at this one. That's at 10. Let's come back when that clock says 10:10. Let's get started, okay? Everybody take a break, and then let's get started again. God bless you.